everyone, happy Wednesday. I'm absolutely delighted to have you all here. You'll probably notice I'm kind of positioning myself a little bit different today. I've got a lovely stand-up desk, so I feel I can really present to you so much better than I normally when I'm sitting down. So welcome to our third Women in Recruitment Asia keynote event. My name's Andrea Ross. For those that don't know me, I'm the founder of a recruitment training company called the Career Establishment, and I'm also the founder of Women in Recruitment Asia. So if you're new to Women in Recruitment Asia and you're wondering, oh, what the hell is Women in Recruitment Asia? It's a group that I set up. I wanted to create a community for female recruiters, but also for the guys as well. But we really wanted to put a bit of a spotlight in ensuring that there was a platform for female recruiters to go to be mentored, to have some great training programs, which we call the WIRA Academy, to have events such as this, but also some coaching events that I have every month where you can just drop in virtually and ask your questions on recruitment and I'll tackle them. There's also an opportunity like today where you can network with other recruiters. Shock horror, you can actually talk to another recruiter in another recruitment firm and your boss won't mind. Isn't that fabulous? But it's a really good opportunity to really discuss some of the keynote events, the questions. Someone please put yourselves on mute. Thank you very much. But also we have free recruitment resources that are now on the WIRA website. Whoever's making their tea, please put yourself on mute. I know it's lunchtime, but if you could put yourselves on mute, that'd be great. So the other, just for you all to know, in the last week, you've all got access to log into the WIRA website. And what that means is that there are free recruitment templates and videos on how to prevent counter offers, how to build rapport in interviews. Please check those out. There's a lot of time and effort in there, but you can master some of your recruitment skills with free resources. So your boss has the login and the password. Please make sure that you go and find out where that is and give us feedback. Let us know what you think about it. If there's certain topics that you want to hear about, let us know. Okay. I want everybody to give me the biggest smile that you've got. Oh my God, I've got no cameras. There's literally like 5 people with their, come on, I want to get a picture. You know I love social media. You cannot get away with that easily. I know where you live. I do. I really do know where you live. So can I just get everyone, come on cameras, you can do it. I know you can do it. This is not a tricky one. You just press camera off. Okay, it's happening. I can see it. I can see it. You really don't want your name coming up on a social media post without your face. You don't want your name. Hi, Rhoda. Hi, I'm seeing all my lovely familiar faces. Hi, Sion. We've got Malaysia Hong Kong, we've got Japan today, we've got Singapore, obviously. So everyone, cameras on, because we're going to do a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I want a massive smile. So 5, get ready for it. 4, get ready for it. 3, get ready for it. 2, are you ready? 1, smile. Yay, hopefully someone's taken a picture for me or else we just did that for nothing. Right, okay, let's move on. I want to remind you all, just a bit of housekeeping. Every single month you get a WIRA newsletter. That WIRA newsletter you get in your email box. If for some reason you don't get it, let us know. And we will get that to you, but it lets you know about upcoming events. So I am just going to share my screen.
Thank you.
Mute, please. Okay, so I'm just going to run through the event for today, and then I'm going to introduce you to our guest speaker. Okay, can everyone just give me thumbs up that you can see my screen? Okay, lovely, thank you. Okay, so upcoming events. I'm doing my WIRA drop-in next week. This is where you can literally drop in for as long as you want, 5-10 minutes, and give me a recruitment question and I will tackle it. Next one in September for Keynote is Kirsty, who's Managing Director of JAC. She's going to be talking about leading. And I just want to go over the tools for the chat function. Now, some of you may not be familiar with Zoom. So if you can all just look at the bottom or the top of your screen, depending on where your toolbar is, you'll see the chat function. Can everyone just do me a favor and bring up your chat function and write in your chat function what you had for breakfast this morning? Go on, I really want to know. What did you have for breakfast this morning? I can't even remember what I had this morning. Oh yeah, I had yogurt. Oh, someone had the same. Oh, nice. So I don't see any McDonald's on there. Okay, that's good. We've got some healthy recruiters. Love it. Okay, so we're all pretty familiar. Do be using the chat function if there's some questions that you want to ask the keynote speaker. We do have a section at the end. I'm going to run through that schedule. But if you forget and you want to just quickly put it on there now, that's absolutely fine. Okay, let's go over. Let me introduce you to our keynote speaker. So I've done my introduction, tick. I'm going to be presenting you to 𝐊𝐚𝐽𝐬 in a few seconds. So let me show you the plan for today. He is the managing director and founder of Center for Mindfulness of Singapore. And he is going to do the keynote. Then it's going to be followed by a mindfulness practice. I don't even know what that is. I'm so super excited about that. And then we have networking where we put you into breakout rooms just for 5 minutes. And then we bring you back. And that's just an opportunity to say hi to other people and discuss how you felt, like in terms of key takeaways. Then we do a Q&A with 𝐊𝐚𝐽𝐬, then we'll do your feedback, and then we've got a lovely little freebie to give you at the end, which we're really excited about. Okay, so let me introduce you to, give me 1 second. I'm going to introduce you to 𝐊𝐿𝐴. I want to give you a bit of history on how I got to know 𝐊𝐿𝐴. I can't remember the actual island that we went to now. It was with 𝐊𝐴𝐺. We did a training session and I met 𝐊𝐴 on the boat and then on the taxi, and we couldn't stop talking. And when I discovered that he was an absolute expert on mindfulness, I've been desperate to have some kind of collaboration with him ever since. So 𝐊𝐴 is the founder of the Center for Mindfulness Singapore. He's a certified mindfulness teacher and a qualified supervising teacher, which are certifications issued by the International Mindfulness Teachers Association. He's the author of 3 books on circular mindfulness, and 𝐊𝐴 is also the founding partner of Positive Performance Consulting and leads the portfolios of organizational culture transformation, leadership development, coaching and mindfulness practices. 𝐊𝐴 brings with over 25 years of industry experience and has worked with large corporations in the US, Europe, China, Australia, Taiwan, Malaysia, India, and Singapore. I'm really excited to be sharing, to be introducing you to 𝐊𝐴, but without further ado, I give you your mindfulness expert. Over to you.
All right. Thank you, Andrea, for the introduction. Yep.
So welcome.
A very good afternoon, very good morning, depending on where you are. And thanks for being here. And I just want to qualify, I do not consider myself an expert, because you know why? It's quite impossible to be an expert when it comes to mindfulness. The more mindful we are, we realize that we actually don't know many things. In fact, the more we know, the more we realize that there is much more to know. So I would like to share this with this attitude of sharing what I know. And I must say that if you were to attend another talk by myself in a month, I would be sharing new experiences as well. So I consider mindfulness as also an attitude of looking at oneself as a work in progress all the time, a perpetual work in progress. So with that, I'm going to now share what I'm here for. I believe you can see my slide deck right now. Yeah, great. Now, whenever I talk about this theme or topic of workplace mindfulness, now the image that comes to your mind. Now, can you just share what image comes to your mind when you encounter this term, workplace mindfulness? Please type that in the chat window. What kind of image comes up in your mind? I would love to see your response. Let's see, right, strategies, right? Thank you, Andrea. All right, feel free to, oh yeah, okay, green field. Right, love to hear your thoughts. Beach, right, meditation, tools, breathing, meditation, EQ, focus, in control of emotions, beach, breathing, right? Rainbows, wow, right, fantastic. Now, the other popular image that I often encounter is someone sitting on their desk in front of their device or laptop or their desktop, but with their eyes closed. Now, it's quite an interesting image. Sitting right in front of your laptop with your eyes closed. Now, how useful is that going to be when you can't see the screen? Right, so the the typical image of workplace mindfulness is one that sometimes conjures images that may not be pragmatic, meaning that assuming that mindfulness is an eyes closed practice. Yes, it is sometimes, not all the time though. So it's very important for us to frame workplace mindfulness in a way that is pragmatic, in the way that it is possible to actually utilize the strengths of mindfulness in an organization, workplaces, etc. All right, and that's what I'm going to talk about today, right? So we're going to examine how mindfulness can impact workplaces. And this is not going to be just my opinion or my subjective experience. I'm going to share with you some evidence as well, all right, from across the globe as to how mindfulness can impact workplaces, which is at this point I see as a potential for many organizations across the globe. And some organizations have jumped onto the bandwagon to bring mindfulness into their workplace. Some of them have yet to do that, and it does not matter. I think what's more important if every person could practice mindfulness in a small way. And I think if you could get there, excellent. Now, the first thing I would like to ask you is, could you describe what your understanding of mindfulness is in a few words? Please type your response in the chat window. I'm not looking for a right answer, just so that you know. Thank you, Neil. Thanks, Garrett and Elma. Right. I can see a lot of awareness coming up, focus, right? Being aware of yourself, surroundings, leading a healthy life, peace, focus, peace, nice mental state, meditation, mentally and physically strong, right? Again, awareness coming up, right? Balance, feelings, excellent. It looks like I don't have to conduct this talk anymore. It looks like you guys know it all, right? Great response, right? But just so that you know, the thing is that I never encounter a wrong response whenever asked this question. Now, what is mindfulness? You'd seldom get an incorrect response, because there cannot be an incorrect response, because we know in some way, perhaps depending on the level or degree of intimacy with mindfulness, we know something about mindfulness. And I'm going to talk about that. And perhaps the attempt here is not to introduce the subject, but rather deepen the understanding. I would like to be very deliberate here. I would like to deepen the understanding of mindfulness, which is probably something that we all know, because we all have this capacity. Now, could you take a look at this image on the screen? Now, please tell me what you see in the chat window. What do you see in this image? Right. Cow, skull, right. Cow, right. Black and white photo. All right, great. Now take a look at this image again. Most of you got this right earlier. Now you see a cow, am I right? Now, take a look at this image again. Now, what do you see? Right, you can't stop looking at the cow. Am I right? If you had not seen the cow earlier, now from this point onwards, you can't stop looking at the cow. So it's very interesting when it comes to the human mind. When you know something, we can't unknow it, so to say, right? The moment you know something, you can't unknow it. You can't now erase the cow from your head at this point. Now take a look at this deck of cards. Now please choose just one card from this deck. Just one card. All right, I hope that you have taken note of that card. Now keep it in your head or write it somewhere. All right, great, you've chosen that. Now take a look. Look at Harry Houdini's eyes. All right, now take a look at this deck. Your card is not here, am I right? Right, your card is not here. So what happened? You know what happened? All the cards are different. Right, every card in this deck is different. So the question now is, are we noticing? Are we noticing things that are happening around us? Now, if we could enhance our capacity to notice, now, would that help you in your day-to-day work? Would that help you as a manager, as a leader? Now, this capacity to notice is something that we are perhaps even losing, given that we are in a very, very dynamic environment when things are changing all the time. As you know, the much, what I call very famous quote, right? Change is the only constant. Right, with that, can we notice, can we enhance our ability to notice? Now, this is a very important question that brings up in workplaces. Now, as you know, I work with a lot of corporations, and one of the things that we are always talking about is awareness and the ability to notice what's happening in our area of work. Now, imagine we don't know much about our minds. Now, take a look at this. These simple activities or games actually tell us that. Now, with this mind, with this limited understanding of the mind, we are engaging with the world. This could be in your professional role, in your relationships, or in any other role. Now, without strengthening, or perhaps without enabling the full capacity of the human mind, we are engaging, we are interacting with the world. And what does that mean to us? Now, what's the implication of this? Now, we all know that we are living in a very VUCA world. Some of you may be very familiar with this acronym, right? Very volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. And this VUCA world has been made real in an unprecedented way during COVID-19 right now, right? Because we can't predict what's going to happen tomorrow. Now, in every country across the globe, the numbers are maybe declining, maybe on the rise, but we just can't predict because we just don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Now, this puts us in a place of what I call a mixed emotions. Now, perhaps anxiety, being nervous, and not being able to focus, which I'm going to talk about shortly, and working from home, right? That has become a new norm. And that new norm has created new challenges, right? Our own family members can become adversaries, right? So now the people that we used to love, right, it's quite a different experience when you're working from home. So now we can see that this VUCA world has presented challenges to the mind, and the mind becomes uncomfortable with these challenges or new experiences. Not all new experiences are welcome, especially to the mind, right? Our mind loves new experiences, but not all of them. Yes, COVID-19, work from home is a new experience, but sometimes our mind could reject it. Now, the other challenge that I see, not just confining this challenge to COVID-19, is the challenge of distraction. Take a look at this. This was a 2018 workplace distraction report. I'm just taking some snapshots. The cost of distraction. Now, what's the impact of workplace distractions? Now, people have reported that 54% of people in the workplace aren't performing as well as they should due to distractions. Now, a lot of times when we think about distractions, we tend to assume they are external distractions. But to be honest, it's the internal distraction that is more distracting, actually. It is the very urge to want to do something other than what I want to. Now, that's an internal distraction. It's the urge of wanting to have a new experience in any given time. And then 50% report that they are significantly less productive. And lastly, 20% not able to reach full potential, advance in career just because of distraction. Can you believe that? And along with this, we see something else that we are very familiar with, which is the fourth industrial revolution. And I think as people in the recruitment sector, you would know this very well. Now, competencies of people are rapidly changing because of this, because of cyber physical systems and all the changes that are taking place in the industry. So you can certainly see all of this changes that's happening outside, and we are at the same time using a mind that we are aware of without unlocking its capacity, right? And engaging with that mind, with this particular mind that we have with the world that is rapidly changing. Now, what does that throw up? Now, that throws up something that we call in mindfulness, the doing mode. So what's the doing mode? Now, when a mind faces a challenge, now what happens is it tends to do the same thing again and again. Of course, Einstein calls it insanity, right? Doing the same thing again and again, expecting different results. So you can see that we get into this doing mode, and you can see these emotions or experiences arise while we are in COVID-19. Now, how many of you have encountered one or more of these emotions or experiences with either yourself or people around you? Could you please type a yes in the chat window? Right, thank you, Andrea. Right, as you can see, thank you very much, my friends. Right, this is so compelling because it is real. Now, one thing that I've noticed working with lots of organizations in APAC is that repetition. Now, this thing called repetition is a huge hurdle, it's a huge obstacle to overcome because we are always on a repeat mode. Now, if you look at your life, every day usually is on a repeat. If I'm free, let's watch Netflix. Not that Netflix is not important, all right? I'm talking about our behavior. When we have some free time, we are on a repeat. Now, this repetition also creeps into our workplace behavior. When our environment is changing, when the environment is changing, we tend to repeat the same strategies. Why? Because we are in the doing mode. And as a result, we may be reactive, we are anxious, we are unhappy, we are stressed, worry, and fear. Now, to be very honest, I believe stress is overrated. Do you know why? Because we talk about the stress, but we do not talk much about the stressor. Now, it's a very important point. We talk a lot about stress, but we do not bring awareness to the stressors. What is making people stressed? It could be even your policies. It could be even your workplace environment. It could be even your culture. How can we bring this awareness to all of these stresses, or what I call as the causes of all of these experiences? So this is where I see, at least in the last 6 years, in the work that I have been doing with many corporations in this region, and I see the relevance of mindfulness. In fact, a lot of my work around mindfulness is around this. How can we bring more awareness to the cause and the effect, not just looking at the effect? Because we have this habit, right? We look at everything from a palliative perspective. Oh, you are stressed, let me go for a massage. But who's going to work on the stressor, right? I'm anxious, so let me work on the anxiety. But who's going to work on the things that are making you anxious? Are there things? So this awareness of the cause and the effect is very critical. And this is where mindfulness allows us to unlock the capacity of the mind to bring this natural awareness to things, right? So what is mindfulness? It's a good thing that we're going to look at it right now. So this is a technical definition of mindfulness. Most mindfulness teachers across the globe rely on this definition as well. So this is from a guy called John Kabat-Zinn. This is the man who invented the secular mindfulness practices. I use the word secular because it has got nothing to do with religion, spirituality, etc. It is something that may be practiced by any human being. All right, so this is a technical definition, paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. Now, many of us tend to mistake mindfulness for meditation. Now, I want to clarify that because there are many meditation practices, meditation apps out there, and we think that all of them are mindfulness. To be very honest, they may not be. Mindfulness is a very specific type of practice, which is quite different from other types of meditation. And mindfulness practices may not be always meditation practice. There are also other types of practices in mindfulness, like mindful movement, mindful eating, etc. Now, to summarize mindfulness, you can see this as, you can appreciate it through this triangle of mindfulness. And basically there are 3 A's in it. Number 1 is attention. Number 2, acceptance. Number 3 is awareness. So here's a question for you. If you were to enhance your attentional capabilities, if you were to enhance your ability to accept an experience before responding to it, let me qualify that, accepting an experience before responding to it, if you were more aware of yourself and others, and if your teammates were more aware of themselves as well as others, would your workplace be a better place? Please share with me in the chat window. Right, thank you very much. I can see, yeah, it's quite a natural response. He said, yes, it's an obvious response, obviously, right? But the question is, the challenge that we have is this: how do we enhance these capabilities in our mind? Now, this is the biggest challenge for us. If I were to ask you, how would you make your physical body strong? How would you strengthen your physical body? You have a dozen answers for that. But if I were to ask you, how could you make your mind fit? That gets tricky, right? So we are very familiar with physical fitness, but we are usually not as familiar with mental fitness. So this is where mindfulness comes. And here we see the evidence for mindfulness. And right after this segment, we're going to have a short mindfulness practice as well. Now, what is the evidence for mindfulness? Now, look at this graph here. Now, this graph records the number of research journals or papers that have been published on mindfulness. Now, that's the reason why I'm speaking to you about mindfulness today, because this would not have been possible perhaps 5 or 6 years ago. Because today, mindfulness has become a buzzword because we have research evidence. So at our center, we conduct observational studies as well. And we have very interesting results to report. People reporting that they have actually really found that mindfulness has enhanced their workplace experience. Let's take a look at the quick summary of this research evidence. Now, here you can see what are the benefits of the workplace: decrease of stress, healthy learning environment, enhancing innovation and creativity, improves attention and concentration, and etc. Let me show you a couple more. Here, another set of research evidence. It manages employee stress. This is very interesting. It improves hypo development. Can you see that? Talent management. And it enhances engagement, reducing burnout, and also helping employees cope with organizational change. A lot of work that I've been doing recently is around managing and dealing with organizational change, and how can mindfulness help people with that. And then lastly, let's look at the benefits for leaders. All right, so I've been working with quite a number of organizations that wanted their leaders to be on programs like this. Now you can see the value of that. And I particularly like number 4, because it increases employee job performance, job satisfaction, and need satisfaction. Now this is beautiful. I think you may see a lot of organizations work towards achieving this, especially after looking at the insights they have gained from staff engagement surveys, right? Usually, right? This is where we want to be really good at. So now that we have looked at this evidence, now let's go into a very quick 3 to 4 minute mindfulness practice before I hand over the space, all right? So right now I'm going to stop sharing the slide. We're going to do a practice that is called body scan, all right? It's called a body scan. So this practice can be done as short as 3 minutes, or it can be done as long as 30 minutes. All right, but let me do a short one just so that you get introduced to this practice. Now, please adopt a comfortable seat. Now, what is a comfortable seat? A comfortable seat or posture is basically, you could sit on the chair that you're on. Now, you could stay a little away from your backrest so that your back or your upper body is upright. And then you can place your palms perhaps on your thighs. Just let it rest on your thighs. All right, and then do a quick check-in to see if the posture is comfortable for you, and make any adjustments that would help you have a conducive posture. Now, as far as your feet, you can have your feet just resting on the floor. If you can't reach the floor, get a support, get some kind of support so that it's rested, all right, depending, or you could adjust the height of your chair if that works for you. Now, when you're ready, I would like to invite you to just close your eyes. And then welcome to this practice of body scan. Now, gently bringing your attention to the feet and noticing the sensation at the feet, perhaps the contact the feet have with the floor, or perhaps the footwear that you're wearing. Just noticing the contact and noticing the sensations. And then gently shifting your attention to your knees and noticing what's happening there. Bringing curiosity, perhaps. And whatever experience there could be, perhaps some tension as a result of perhaps an exercise regime yesterday or this morning, or perhaps nothing at all, just a neutral, just being neutral, and accepting whatever sensations that are there at the knees. And then gently shifting the attention to the pelvic region. Now there you can notice the contraction of muscles at the pelvic region if you are seated on the chair, and even noticing the contact of the bums with the seat that you are seated on. And then gently shifting your attention to your shoulders. Just being curious, perhaps a soreness due to sitting on the chair for extended periods. Yeah, but just noticing it without rejecting it, accepting whatever that experience is in this present moment. And then noticing the elbows. Yeah, what's happening there? Feeling right to the bones. And then to the wrist. And then your hands. And all of your fingers. And then gently now shifting your attention to the neck. Noticing if there is any strain in the neck and accepting that experience regardless of what it is. And then noticing the sensations on the face, just noticing it on the face. And then now resting your attention on the breathing, noticing each in-breath and out-breath. You could notice this at the nostrils, at the throat, at the chest region, or your belly, choosing a spot that works for you. And then as we approach the end of this practice, now give yourself credit for being in this state. Now, in this state, in fact, it is not a state of doing. This is a moment of just being. And this being allows you to enhance your awareness. Now, with that acknowledgement and gratitude to the body and the mind that had allowed you to practice this body scan, let us now open our eyes. Now, how was that? Could you please share with me in the chat window? What are you noticing right now? Just a quick, maybe one-word response. Right. Thank you very much, my friends. Thanks for the response as well. Now, just so that you know, I was not looking for a right response. Every response is a great response when it comes to mindfulness because we become aware of that experience. So thank you, my friends. Over to you, Andrea.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I am just going to myself. I can see myself. Okay. Thank you so much for that. Oh, I feel so calm now. I feel like I need to have kind of an afternoon nap, quite frankly. That was just wonderful. I would just love a couple of people to just do a bit of a shout out. What was your kind of key takeaway? I know we're going to go on to questions in a minute because I know you're bound to have loads of questions. I know I do. And we've had some prepared questions as well. So kind of what was kind of one of your biggest key takeaways from that talk? Can someone please shout out and don't let me hang out there. Come on. Who wants to put themselves off mute and tell me their key takeaway?
Yeah, sure. Garrett here. We spoke about the stresses that we often take a look at, more at the how can we remedy it rather than the real stresses behind it. So that was a key takeaway. Look at the root cause, not the consequence of it or what we're going to do with it. So
yeah.
that was an interesting one from our
I
side.
think that's really interesting. Thank you, Garrett, for sharing. That was Garrett from Robert Walters, just to let you know. Well, so if anyone wants to say out their name, I will say which recruitment firm you're from. So you get a little bit of a plug as well. That's what you get when you say something in the group. Anyone else like to share with the group?
I'll go next. Hi, this is Karen from Madecwa. I'll probably just introduce myself. Thank you very much for the session. It was really interesting. I really like the idea of the cards. It is quite eye-opening because when we are looking at the first set of the cards that Kathira-san is actually sharing, I was like, oh, this is magic, but didn't realize that the second set of cards that is presented is entirely different. But it also proves that in our life, we actually, we are not mindful with a lot of things, right? So we just got to really be very, very mindful of what's happening around us and really be able to understand what is happening around us. So awareness and the ability to understand what is happening around us is extremely important. So thank you very much for the session. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Karen. Thanks for sharing that. We're going to go on to the question. I think a lot of people are coming back in actually, because I think when they left the breakout room, I think they left the actual entire group. So I'll just give them a few seconds to come back in. We're now going to go on to the Q&A. So I'm just going to pin my image so that we've got Katia there. Don't forget, everyone use the chat function, but I'd love you to be able to ask questions verbally as well, because sometimes by the time you've written it in the chat, it sometimes can kind of lose its meaning. So please feel free to share out your questions. We had some pre-questions sent as well. Joanne, would you mind just adding those onto the chat group as well? Because I know there were some that people put forward before the event so that we can kick off. Okay, so we've got one there, Katia. It says, if you know you're burning out at work, which steps can you take to get back on track?
All right, so thank you, Andrea, for sharing this question. Like a great question, because burnout is a big thing these days. Now, the first myth about burnout is that you will never be burnt out if you did something purposeful or meaningful. That is not true. Now, people tend to think that if you do something that is very purposeful, very meaningful, and things that you love, you won't experience burnout. Yep, that is not true, because you can get burnout even while taking care of your kids. It's possible, right? Even the things that you love doing can also lead you to experiencing burnout. So what does that mean? Now, burnout here literally means, the technical definition is such that you don't have the resources to manage the reality. That's the whole idea, right? We don't have the necessary resources to manage that challenge. Now, burnout happens when we don't take care of ourselves in a very, very holistic way. So what does that mean? Now, there are many aspects to ourselves. We always look at ourselves as just emotional beings, but that's not true. Now, we need to take care of ourselves at many levels. Now, we need to take care of ourselves at the physical level. That's one particular area. The next is the emotional level. And also the other one, which is cognitive, which is also meaning and purpose. Now, that has to be also there. So when we bring more awareness to all of these aspects of ourselves, now that is a more preventive way of dealing with burnout. So what I just shared is a preventive means. Now, if you're looking at a palliative or a remedial means, that means you're experiencing burnout and you want to get out of this burnout, that would mean that you need to take yourself out of the situation that is creating this experience for you. All right. So if you realize when there is fire, now the only way to put out the fire is to extinguish it or remove oxygen. It's very simple. You remove oxygen from the environment, fire would get extinguished on its own. Now, similarly, you need to get the fuel, the things that are fueling your burnout. You need to get away from it and then recharge yourself by looking at all of these factors: your physical self, your emotional self, and your meaningful, what I call as the eudaimonic self. Now, take care of all of this and then return to the space. So it's quite difficult to learn swimming when you're drowning. Am I right? Right? It's quite impossible to learn swimming when you're drowning. You need to learn swimming when everything is fine. That's why you need to get yourself out of the experience and then equip yourself with the skills and then enter that space. Now, this is the skill that many people would really benefit from in workplaces, because they don't know how to let go. Now, sometimes we need to let go for a short period of time so that we can take care of ourselves and then return, perhaps more recharged or even, honestly, supercharged. I hope that answers the question. Right, Andrea, shall I just take the questions from the chat, or would you be?
I have a question, if I can jump in. So I was just thinking, I mean, at the moment, while we're all working from home, or most people working from home, it's kind of, I find it's easier to just sort of take a break or switch off. You know, you can just sit and meditate, or do that. But from your experience, when we're all back in the office, I mean, what have clients done? What can companies do in the office environment to encourage this sort of practice? Is it something that we can do during the day in the office, or are we more trying to encourage people to do this in their own time in the morning before work or whatever?
Right, good question, Matthew. So I recommend a couple of things that you could possibly do. The first is the culture of care. Now that has to be there, right? Now we need to create a culture where people see that I am important. Now that's number one. All right. Once we get there, the next thing is what we call as tactical, what I call strategies, which is primarily, Matthew, as you've asked, perhaps before you start work, can we encourage staff to practice mindfulness for just 3 minutes? Once you get to your desk, that's one way. Now, the next suggestion that I'm going to give, of course, I have a long list, Matthew. I'm not going to take too much time. Let me share one or two. All right. Now, the second suggestion that I have is in meetings. Now, when you gather for a meeting in your office, now could you start the meeting intentionally by having a 3 to 5 minute practice? Now, that brings people together. It's also a great way to reset. Now, we may bring some preconceived notions or ideas into the meeting. Now, this practice could be a very great intentional reset, and also start the meeting with a very clear intention, and also a calm, what I call mental posture, as I would say. Does that answer the question, Matthew?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Yeah, I'm sure there's a ton of things. I'm just trying to think how, some people find it awkward, right? It's the idea of just sort of turning to your boss and saying, all right, I'll be in a meeting room back in 10. What can we do to make, I guess, remove the awkwardness, and make it more of a normal day-to-day thing, which So one thing, Matthew, I want to jump in here, just a great insight that came from an experience I've had. Now, we need to also get the leadership to walk the talk, which is very key, because when someone, what I call, practices any kind of practice that actually conduces self-care, now the leaders should actually encourage that, or leaders should do the same thing. Now, when leaders do what they value, everyone follows. Now, when staff or employees, or when they just do it, sometimes what happens is you don't see the leadership intention made explicit in that sense. So with some of the organizations that I work with, now I always ask this question: if you have this intention of bringing mindfulness for people to be more aware and take care of themselves, now have you obtained leadership buy-in for this? Now, if you don't have the leaders talking about this and also demonstrating this, now it may not happen as we want it to be, in a more pervasive sense. So it's good to have the leaders engaged and also walking the talk in that sense, right? That's one point as well.
Okay, there was a question on there that says, I think my group had a question on how you deal with different people and expectations, such as response time in a COVID situation. I suppose that's right. Sort of symptoms of it, yeah.
All right, so now this is a question that can be answered in many ways, all right? I'm going to give you a mindfulness response, because I don't believe that there is only one response to this question. There are many ways that we can respond to this. However, the mindful response is being aware of what is important and what is urgent. Now, it's very important to be aware of the difference. Now, an expectation is basically something that is about something that you're going to do, which is a task, right? It's about task. People expect you to do something or be something. It's all a task. So when it comes to task, we need to be aware of what is important, what is urgent. Now, when you define what is important, what is the criteria for that? What's the criteria for that? And when you say something is urgent, of course, you obviously know urgent is something that has time pressure. But many a time I realize we tend to spend a lot of time on things that are urgent, but seldom on things that are important. So what I've learned in my life is I bring a lot of awareness to things that are important, because if you don't look at the things that are important, it's going to get urgent. One day it will become urgent. So the question here is response time, right? You need to ask yourself, it's not just about response time. How important is this task? Now, how important is it for you and the person who is requesting it? We need to do that evaluation before you come up with an answer, in my opinion. And mindfulness helps you to take a step back. Now, that's what I've learned in my life. Mindfulness helps me to take a step back all the time before I respond. Because if I don't, you know what I do? I end up reacting to it. And usually when I react, it's always in the space of repetition. Now that's what I see from my experience, right? I'm seeing.
Hi there. I actually have a question as well. This is Anka here from Hudson, Singapore. My question was similar to Matthew's, which was also around like how do we actually practice, mindfulness on a more regular basis. But I think what I was thinking of was more, rather than at a group level, because for me, I find it a lot easier to do it when, there's someone around that is proposing it, or like just now what you did, right? Guiding us through that moment. But when I'm home alone and I'm working, 3 weeks from home, how do we try to implement that in our daily/weekly schedule more independently?
Right. So now the whole point about how do you put this, how do you make this as part of, rather, how do you make this a habit? Am I right, Anka? Right. So it's something that I recommend that you program it in your calendar as a non-negotiable. That's how you start. That's number one. Put it in your calendar. All right. In a short while, I'm going to share with you something that's going to help you with this as well. Now, put it into your calendar, number one. Number two, don't start big, start small. Now, 3 minutes of practice every day is more important than 30 minutes of practice once a week. So start small, program it into your calendar. That's all that is necessary. And then when the 3 minutes appear to be too short, then you stretch it to 5 minutes and then 10 minutes. But start with just 3 minutes. That's how you start. But program it into your calendar and make sure you do it. So that's a great way, a very great and simple way to start. And you don't feel stressed as well. It's like someone asking you to run 1 hour. Now that's going to be very stressful. Start by just running for just 5 minutes. Now, in the same way, in the same fashion, start with just a 3-minute practice and put it onto your calendar.
I think that's great advice. I think that's. Would you like to bring up the slide in regards to the freebie resource? Where maybe it's sort of a good opportunity to share that with the WIRA members now, Katir, before we go into the closing of the talk and then a poll.
Sure, Andrea. So this is a mindfulness app that doesn't cost you a penny because it's free. All right. So we created this mindfulness app that is called Awareness Space. So you could use this because it has lots of practices in there. Take a look at this. So you can see all the mindfulness practices in here. There are more than a dozen practices in here. Some of them 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, depending on the length that you want. So you can start with a 5 minutes practice and all of them are there. There are also some basics about mindfulness, some short articles in there. Now you could use this to practice mindfulness, but more than anything else, you can share this with your colleagues. So here's the QR code for the iPhone as well as Android smartphones. Now you can download this and then use this. Now this is totally what I call free in that sense. Now, primarily, we created this app so that it is a way to give back to people, all right? Give back to people, give back to society. So every one of you, now you don't have to pay, it doesn't cost a cent. You don't have to pay any kind of amount of money to practice mindfulness. All the evidence-based mindfulness practices are in this app. So go ahead, take advantage of this, share this with your staff, share this with your colleagues so that everyone could actually practice.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for doing that. Can you unshare that, because I'm going to explain some of the chat room. Thank you. Is there anything else that you want to go over before I do my closing here? You're good. Oh my God, thank you so much. I'm so excited for everybody to be able to download it. I downloaded it this morning and there's just so much on there. So I think Anka, when you're asking about some tips, you can go mad on that now. So can I just encourage everybody, all the WIRA members, to maybe do a short video in the next few weeks of how you're practicing mindfulness into the organization, post it on LinkedIn, send it to us. We'd love to see how you're just making some little differences, because I think it is, from what 𝐊𝐚𝐭𝐡𝐢𝐫𝐚𝐬𝐚𝐧 is just start small and just start to build that up, putting it in your diary so that you can actually just make that change and prevent it getting to the point where you are actually burnt out. So I want to thank you so much for your time to the WIRA members, 𝐊𝐿𝐴. I think it was a really great intake in terms of everyone turning up today. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Everyone, I will put on a LinkedIn, I will put a document together with all the app, the QR, anything else that we've got from the presentation. We'll send it out and put it all onto the LinkedIn closed group, so you have all that there, so don't worry too much. Can I just ask everyone to give us some feedback as well? I'm just going to bring up a quick poll and then I will close off. So let me just launch. Can everyone just pump in how they felt the event was for them today? Can you see it all? Great, thank you so much. Oh, we're still going, we're still going. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm just going to put myself on gallery view. Okay, so thank you so much. We are 1 minute before we finish. That was pretty damn good timing. Thank you so much for giving your time today. WIRA members, thank you, 𝐊𝐿𝐴, for coming in and doing a wonderful presentation to the group. Really, really appreciate it. Everyone, there's lots of events going on. Please make sure that you register. There's loads of recruitment freebies that you can log into the site. So if everyone can just take some time, there's loads of stuff to master your recruitment skills. See you hopefully next week for the WIRA drop-in, and for Kirsty Poltox, Managing Director of JC Recruitment, that's going to be doing the next keynote. So we will see you virtually there. So have a safe week. Practice your mindfulness. I want to see some videos. It'd be so exciting if we can get some mindfulness practices and that you send them over to us or put it on LinkedIn. That'd be awesome. And please do reach out to 𝐊𝐿𝐴 if you'd like to have maybe private sessions, or you've got clients that are really keen for mindfulness. Great contact. Okay, everyone's saying bye now. Bye, everyone. I can see numbers coming off.
Thanks, Andrea.
Bye.
Thanks,
Have a
𝐊𝐿𝐴.
good day. Thanks very much.
Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Bye, everyone.